Hey everyone, Mike Miller with the Herald Times, joined by columnist Jeremy Price, coming to you after Indiana's 87-70 victory over Arkansas State. A first of quick turnaround for Indiana.
Yeah.
2 games in 3 days. Back at it with Eastern Michigan on Friday. And this was much like many of the games we've seen. Another pretty topsy-turvy performance from Indiana. Still kind of concerned about the starts to these games. They're putting together good stretches. It's just not enough of them, really, right now.
Right, and this, I think, first couple times you sort of dismiss it, but we're 5 games into the season, and this has become a defining trend of this team that it's slow out of the gates. Fortunately, tonight Arkansas State wasn't exactly setting things on fire coming out to start the night either.
Yeah.
So Indiana had some time to work into it, and once it works into these games, obviously it puts some good things together as we that's starting to become a trend too. But you've got to not bury yourself so deeply, because when you start looking at the schedule coming up, once you get past Eastern Michigan on Friday, which is going to be a good task in its own right, I think. But you start getting to Duke and Michigan and Louisville and Iowa and Notre Dame. You can't afford to get off to the kind of start Indiana's getting off to. You're going to be down 10 or 15 points right off the bat.
Yeah, really tonight, the first minute of both halves was just awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it lasted longer than a minute, but I mean, to start the game, it was only 2-0, I think, for the first minute. But IU had 3, I think, really bad offensive possessions, and meanwhile, Arkansas State's just getting stuffed, taking a couple bad shots on that end, and coming right out of the halftime locker room. Devontae Green has 2 turnovers in 40 seconds, and he's on the bench.
Yep.
So yeah, this is not the start, obviously, that this team wants to put forth.
Yeah, and I asked Archie Miller about it, and you know, he's quick to say, well, we don't necessarily want to change the lineup and all those kind of things, and I don't know that they necessarily need to change the lineup. It's just a certain mentality that this team's got to find coming out. It seems like every game they're coming out, everybody's being very polite and tentative and sort of deferential to everyone else, and nobody wants to step on anyone's toes, and you can't come out that way. You've got to come out aggressive and attacking and dictating the game, something that this team has yet to really do a whole lot of. But it seems like it finds that once you get about 8 minutes into a game, then it sort of finds that, and some of that is brought from some of the guys off the bench, but it's not just the guys off the bench. It's just sort of this, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just sort of this laid-back, reserved mentality that this team has coming out of the locker room right now that definitely needs to change. And not only did they do it in the first half of the night, they did it in the second half.
Yeah.
In some ways, the second half was worse, truth be told.
League got down to 3 points at like 9:43 left, so it was obviously not what you want. Much like so Seton Hall, you have 1 good half, first half. South Florida, you have 1 really good half, second half. Tonight it was the final 10 minutes of the first half, and I guess the final 10 minutes of the second half too, really.
Yeah.
Thereabouts. Half of the halves were good.
Which means you have 1 good half.
Exactly. So just kind of breaking it up how they're going about getting those halves together.
Yeah. Total lack of consistency, though. Clearly,
That's
at this point. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And the only thing that's consistent right now on this team, Juwan Morgan.
Yes. And so that's a start. That's, I suppose, a start. And for all the talk of the first week or so of the freshmen coming in here and being able to really acclimate faster than the guys who have had to really refocus all of the points of emphasis, expectations, guys come in here fresh and doing well. Now you're starting to see one of the key pieces really turn into a guy you can lean on, and that's certainly an encouraging performance. It certainly was that tonight, a career-high 28 points for Morgan, 8 rebounds. He went 10 for 10 at the line. He's now 19 for 20 at the line the last 2 games. He's crediting Kevin Durant for a little shimmy before shooting free throws for that surge in free throw production. But really on top of the points, like we said after the South Florida game on Sunday, it's everything else. I mean, the points obviously are much needed at this point for this team, but they're also kind of gravy to what everything else he does, end to end.
Yeah, a lot of offensive rebounds, just being aggressive, grabbing loose balls.
We learned a new term tonight. Dog points. You know what the dog points are?
I know that I don't have any.
Yeah, I don't have any either. Rebounds, 50-50 balls, hustle. You just hustle.
All the dirty work. The hustle stats, as they like to call them sometimes.
Jerron Davis calls them dog points.
Yeah. But you know what you don't see right now from Juwan Morgan? What I like is he's imitating Kevin Durant at the free throw line, but you don't see Juwan Morgan imitating Kevin Durant at the three-point line right now. I think he's attempted one three-pointer in the last 2 games, doing much more of his work inside, attacking, sort of abandoned the jump shot part of the game for him right now, which I think is what this team needs. This team needs somebody to set that tone and do that dirty work right now. That's what this team's trying to figure out, is how to do that. So you've got to have somebody that's going to set the tone from that standpoint. You've got other guys that can do the other things, Devontae Green, Robert Johnson, and both of those guys are guys that have shown flashes. Again, they're struggling to find that consistency sometimes from minute to minute, it seems like. But if you've got Juwan Morgan doing those little things and playing defense, it rubs off on other guys. You need somebody that's going to be that guy that gets on the floor, that gets after it, that's not afraid to stick their nose in there, something that somebody can sort of see as an example setting kind of thing. And that's really where this team's at right now. And I think maybe you get a little additional infusion of that when Colin Hartman gets back. When you have Colin Hartman and Juwan Morgan both doing that, maybe that takes things to a next level for this team.
It'll be interesting when Hartman gets back. We could see him Friday, although I kind of get the sense that he might still be a week away.
Yeah.
I think he was only beginning to do individual non-contact work on Monday. So I'm not sure that Friday it's in the cards for Hartman, but he continues to warm up and continues to progress. And like you said, you wonder if there might be some sort of shakeup, once he comes back, whether it becomes obviously with rotations, but maybe lineups and so forth. So that'll be something to watch maybe Friday, but probably maybe Wednesday against Duke is when you might see Hartman.
Well, I think what it does, I don't know that they would want to put him in the lineup to shake up the lineup so much. It just gives Indiana versatility if it wants to go to a bigger lineup, especially against a team like Duke that's got more size and length, things like that. I'm not saying they're going to throw Hartman right in the starting lineup right off the bat, but down the road against the teams with more size, you could start him as your 3 or Morgan as your 3. Take your pick how you want to play those guys, but those two guys with Deron Davis to give you a little bigger front line, a little more length to match up with teams. Right now, you can get away with the 3-guard thing.
Yes.
Sort of.
Sort of, yes. That's the key word there.
Not so great on Devin Sims tonight, though.
No, 21 points. He had 8 points, I think, in the first 9 minutes of the second half when Arkansas State. We got high school football in the brain. When Arkansas State whittled that deficit down to 3 points. But again, final 11:41 of the contest, only no turnovers.
Right.
Indiana only had 8, so they did sort of settle in, and obviously that's encouraging. Anytime you can have fewer than 10 turnovers, which this team did, and they did a couple times exhibition season, right?
Yeah.
Actually, so
yeah, this team has shown the ability to cut down the turnovers. What it hasn't shown is the ability to make better decisions on a consistent basis, and sometimes even when it's not turning the ball over, sometimes the shot selection and the ball movement is not great, but I guess at least it's not a turnover. If you get a shot up, something good can happen, especially the way Juwan Morgan's attacking the glass right now.
Yeah, definitely seeing some November basketball from Indiana, but a lot of it is not necessarily just November basketball. But again, one more game to really iron it out for the lights to really come on for Duke. Not sure exactly what you expect going into that one, but certainly with Eastern Michigan, they're going to come in here playing a zone. Indiana didn't do great. I mean, it just didn't shoot very well against the zone tonight. That was one of the things. 5 for 18 from 3. But that Friday is an opportunity to really get that first decisive win of the season if they can manage to pull that one off and maybe give themselves a little bit of real momentum going into that game.
Yeah, look, I mean, every game is school's in session right now for this team. I mean, there's a reason if you just watched Archie Miller during a game, it would just make you tired, first of all. But it's constantly instruction, urging, cajoling, teaching. You've got to be here. You've got to move here. Trying to improve little things. Every possession is a work in progress for this Indiana team right now, and they might put it together for 2 or 3 possessions at a time, and then somebody blows an assignment, somebody doesn't rotate, somebody doesn't play the pick and roll correctly, and it's back to class again. And that's just kind of where this team is at, and that's going to continue off and on. And as we get in against Duke and so on down the stretch here, obviously those lessons are going to be learned in a little more difficult way, but in some ways, I also think this team will somewhat rise to the challenge of those games as well. Yeah. So, just to say that this team's going to roll out and get beat by 50 by Duke or whatever, I mean, maybe, but I don't I don't think so. Actually,
I agree.
it tends to be, especially when you're talking games in Assembly Hall. Indiana teams have a way of sort of
They'll get up.
rising to the occasion.
Yeah, I agree. Well, before we get there, still one more of these holiday games of the Hoosier Tip-Off Classic. Friday, as we mentioned, 4:30 here at Assembly Hall, and then it's Bucket Weekend in full, and we'll be up there too. So, happy Thanksgiving! Enjoy all the food. I'm coming over tomorrow.
Oh, you are?
No, I'm not.
I
I'm
won't be
going
home,
to get
but
Indian food. Oh, you're not? Okay, well, then I'm definitely not coming over. All right. Well, have a great holiday, guys. We will see you back here on Friday. See you.
see ya.